people have been infringing on copyright and how it's progressed over time, and how conversely, the means of fighting those means of infringement has also progressed over time. Okay, so let's start nice and simple. Let's have a look at some of the ones we've already mentioned, right? How did people infringe on copyright in the past, like in the era of like cassette tapes and that kind of thing? What was the method? Okay, physical copies. So I suppose what that means is, you buy it, you buy the actual thing, and then you have the means to physically reproduce it. Okay, and sometimes that's easy and sometimes it's harder. Okay, I remember when CD burners started actually becoming affordable, right? And everyone started panicking because if people could get not just a physical copy that was like the original, but a physical copy that was exactly identical, right? It would make software piracy, music piracy all take off. Okay, so make a physical copy. What other measures have people used to infringe on copyright? Yeah, Leo.
Geographical relocation, not so legitimate items.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Okay, now let's try and get at this. So when we say geographical relocation, we mean things like, say, moving to another country. Right now, why would such as over Bass Strait, okay? And New Zealand isn't the only one. Now, hold on. Let's just pedal back for a second. How is this relevant at all? How is moving countries connected to means of infringement in any way? Why would moving to another country, and it could be, or it could be, say, Switzerland or Norway, why might that make any difference at all? Yeah.
Different copyright laws.
Good.
It's like a tax reform.
So because copyright laws vary wildly from country to country. Okay, a lot of the copyright laws we were looking at just in the video just now were specific to the US, right? Now it's very important that you understand because there are these differences in law, right? Moving to other countries is a way for people to get away from that. Okay, so notable examples. People who have exploited this are things like Mega Upload. That's been the most recent one. Okay, things like websites like the Pirate Bay. Okay, which by the way leads to another one of the separate means of infringement. Just before we get onto that, you see the owners of these kinds of websites have gone to countries where the laws have been just not as restrictive, right? So they're looser. So the governments where they live aren't going to prosecute them for the kinds of activities they're doing, right? And it's been notorious how difficult it's been, not impossible, but difficult, for other countries to try and get a hold of these people and actually get them from other countries for prosecution. What's that called, by the way, when you get people for extradition, right? So the US, for instance, was trying to extradite the people who run and organize these kinds of sites. Okay. All right. Now I said the Pirate Bay is notable for one of the kinds of means of infringement. What's it called? Downloading. Okay. So downloading. I suppose we can put this under the broad heading of online distribution, right? Online distribution. Now, by the way, as we go through online distribution, when you say downloading, that evokes a particular image. Namely, there's a server, okay, and it's got whatever content is copyrighted, and you put it there, and then other people can come to it and download it. Why might, for the people who are infringing the copyright, right? Why might that be a problem? Why might that be a dangerous way to infringe copyright?
Because pretty much everyone has access to it. So
okay. Yeah, good. So if you're putting content out on a server, okay, number one, it's out there in the public, as opposed to, for instance, if I was making physical copies, okay, I could have like some shady alley, and say, hey, I've got some great, content here, but it's relatively unknown. But when you're out there on the internet, right, it's notoriously open air and public. Now, not only that, right, if you own a server, or if you're hiring a server from somebody, you cannot do that anonymously. You cannot do it anonymously. You can try, you can set up, proxies, you can have other people with fake names, all that kind of thing. But essentially, if you own a server that people can download from, your name, your identity are attached to that server. Okay? So if I find, people are hosting my copyrighted material on such and such server, there are means for me to go to law enforcement agencies and say, hey, who owns this? Who's responsible for this? And they can be tracked down. Okay? Now, therefore, this is one of the reasons why the Pirate Bay has been so successful. You don't just have to have a server where you can download things from if you want to do online distribution. What's another popular way of doing it? Say again? Okay, so this is worth discussing, okay? P2P or peer-to-peer, right? It's a different model. Instead of a server, one central location that all these different people go to, or rather get from, the copyrighted data, okay? What's peer-to-peer? It's saying, look at these guys out here, okay? And as they download the content, they each have a copy of it, right? So these different peers can be leveraged for further distribution. So you can see it's insanely clever, right? So what's happening is, you've got all these clients, and assuming, say one or two of them get a copy of the copyrighted data, okay? These can then be employed to pass it to other people, who can then pass it to other people, right? Does this make sense? Okay, so peer-to-peer. So the most famous instances of this, what are some names? LimeWire, okay. A big one, of course, in the news a while ago starts with an N. N for Napster. Okay, it's been a while. And just the whole idea of torrents, right? Okay, it's a whole software architecture built out of being able to pass things between people. You can see how this is so much more difficult to track down, if not impossible, really. Okay, now, I'm sort of running out of space. We've got a lot of the major headings. We're missing kind of a really simple one, right? Who's been to, let's not name any names, a Southeast Asian country, shall we say it, right? And it's like, oh look, there's all these movies you can get on DVD. Wait, hold on a second. This movie hasn't even come out in Australia yet, or it's still in the cinema. What's happening? It's not physical copies of some DVD that someone's bought. What have they done? They've gone in to the cinema, right? And they've actually literally filmed, right? Hey, haven't you seen it? Have you never seen it? You're enjoying a movie and then suddenly, weird subtitles appear and you're like, how do I turn this off? There's no setting for turning it off. It's just there. Or you're watching it and suddenly you hear the sound of laughter, or like someone getting up and saying, "Oh, I need to go to the bathroom," right? You're like, where did this come from? Okay, that's right. Okay, so now it's not to be underestimated, okay? Because it's a massive industry. Okay, it's a massive industry. And it will, you can see why. Why is it hard to fight this particular means of piracy, of infringing copyright? Why is it difficult? Anyone and their phone can do it now. Okay? So when we talked about physical copies and said, sometimes it's hard to get a hold of the equipment required for this, literally everyone's got the equipment required for this in their pocket. Right? Okay, so let's think about what are some of the ways that companies and organizations have started to fight all of these methods? Okay, for some of them, let's try and be specific, right? For something like geographical relocation, we already mentioned what's the method that governments have been trying? Extradition, right? So try and get them, if they're leaving the country, try and get them back in the country and then prosecute them, okay, for breaking these laws. Okay. What other kinds of countermeasures did you come up with for any of these different methods? Anyone?
Having serial numbers or one-time codes.
Okay, good. Serial codes or keys, right, is often what they're called. Okay, so the whole idea is that if I buy some software, you don't just need the CD which has the software on it. You need a specific set of numbers and letters that will allow you to activate. So we often call this product activation, right? That will allow you to activate the software and actually have it usable. or usable for more than 30 days, some kind of period that's there for grace, you know, oh, I lost my key. Okay. Now, by the way, having mentioned this, doesn't this mention another way of infringement? People have seen this as a countermeasure, and they've designed a countermeasure deliberately designed to go after this. What is it?
Yeah, software which creates those codes.
Okay, now,
But
so
how about if you need a code to access that software?
okay, so let's think about this, right? How does a number work as a key, right? And especially because you can't just have specific ones, because you know millions of people might buy this piece of software, right? So these codes or these keys will fit mathematical rules, right? Often called like an algorithm, okay? And that algorithm is stored within the piece of software, so it can tell whether you put in a dodgy code or one that's actually legit, right? Now, if people can work out what that algorithm is, they can make their own codes or keys that would fit into it. Okay, and these are called, I'll put it here, these are called key generators. Okay. So you can see there's sort of a technology arms race that's happening between these two opposing sides. Okay. All right, what other countermeasures are there? What other countermeasures against copyright infringement? Let's keep on going after this idea of product activation. Sorry. Often now, because say maybe 15 years ago, the internet, right, and access to it was not something that just everyone had. Okay, a lot of people have it, but not everyone. These days, that's not the case. Like companies can assume, software companies can assume, everyone has the internet. So they can make this product activation method not just a code, right, but an online activation. So you've got to get onto some website and say, I've just bought this piece of software, and this is where I bought it from, or whatever, and then they provide you with a key. And then they log the fact that you've activated this piece of software. Do you see why this is a step up on this, right? Because if you've got a serial code, right, older, less sophisticated methods, pieces of software that employ this would allow several different computers to work on the same serial code, right? Because each one is just checking, does the number work on the algorithm? But you can use the number multiple times. You see how online activation sort of overcomes that problem? Because I might use the code once, and then you come along with my copy, use the same code, but since it's gone online, the company has a record of the fact that a key has been used already. It's been taken, okay? And so it has to be deactivated by me, the original, before it can actually be reused. Okay? Anyone want to add any more countermeasures onto there? Any other suggestions? Yeah.
Legitimate products might have something encoded.
Okay, so encoding, right? Now, how does this work? This is a little bit like watermarks, right? You know how on a note, right, currency, we have all of these little things, little nooks and crannies, little details that have been hidden inside the note so that we can tell the genuine thing from a fake, right? Now this is tricky because, you know, it's all constituting zeros and ones, but there are ways to encode, you know, say a watermark type idea, kind of software, right, which validates something as genuine. Okay, so it's similar to this idea of activation validation. Okay? Now, let me show you one more way, and it's very, very sophisticated, of trying to fight infringement that gets after this one, this downloading and online distribution one. I'm going to show it to you. You see if you can explain it to me. Stop. Okay. Now, you guys know, I have been uploading videos onto my channel, and I noticed something interesting when I was uploading some of the videos that were taken a while ago. So for instance, let's go. You may remember, was it last year or the year before? I think it was last year. One of the videos, one of the things that I did was I sang a song. Am I signed in? Let me just check. Sign in. You'll need to sign in to see this.
Yes, Mr. Wood.
Okay. Now what I'm going to show you is sort of like a back-end view of all the videos that I've got, and you'll notice I'm going to ask you to look for something unusual. Okay?
Money. How's money unusual? Money. Money. What about money? Dollar sign. The picture next to the money sign is different in something.
Okay, now let's have a look at this.
He's doing his edge.
Can you see it? There's this green symbol. I'm not sure if you can make it out. It's a green symbol, green rectangle with a dollar sign on top of it. What does it indicate? It indicates advertisements being applied to any of these videos, right? So YouTube calls it monetization, right? You've got a video, you want to monetize it so you can earn revenue off it, okay? Now you'll notice that there are a couple of videos down here which don't have it, right? And what's going on? If you have a look at, let's go to this one here. If you have a look at the settings, yep. Now this is a video that I did not take, but I was given the rights to it by the person who did take it. But I can't put ads on it now. Let's have a look at why. Down here, where can we find it? Oh, where is it going? That's interesting. I blame Internet Explorer. Okay, that's alright. Let's try and explain it anyway. What is this video of? What was I actually doing? I was singing a song. Okay, my guitar, my voice. There it is.
We're gonna watch it.
You can watch it after this. Now, what's happening? I was performing two songs, or parts of two songs, that are actually recognized by YouTube. Okay, now what's going on here? It's my voice, my guitar, and yet an algorithm has been employed by Google, who owns YouTube, that can actually sense that these songs have copyright applied to them, right? Namely, Good Riddance by Green Day and Friday by Rebecca Black. So, it doesn't permit me to serve ads. Why? Why?
Because you can't earn money.
Because I'm not permitted to use this copyrighted material for the purpose of, or for commercial purposes, to earn money off it. Okay? Now, if I go back, you can see the other videos. The one other video I have, which has the same problem on it, is this one. Is a 20-minute video of me getting all my hair cut off because I was raising funds. Now, why? I wasn't singing. Trust me, I wasn't singing. Okay. Why would this video have problems with it? Why would Google raise a red flag? Yeah. This was happening in the quad, and the prefect just happened to be pumping out a playlist in the background of popular music, that kind of thing. Now, Google picks it up. It's not even the main thing. You can hear me talking. You can hear the buzz of the hair cutting shears, whatever they're called. It's all the way in the background, but Google can hear the audio and it censors it. Okay, so yeah.
So essentially, if we don't want ads, just add music to the video.
That would be one way to do it. Now, that's not the only thing, right? So what are we calling this, right? This is a detection algorithm. That's not the only thing that YouTube might choose to do with your video. In my case, they just disabled ads, right? However, what they might do instead is they might disable audio on your video, right? Or they might pull your video down altogether. Okay, so it depends, right? It's not just a blanket response. They use this algorithm to take different kinds of measures based on what they see in the video. Okay? So there you go. There's a whole series of infringements, ways to oppose and breach copyright. And you can see all these different measures of fighting it. And these are going to progress and continue expanding, I expect, as technology advances.